Hello, everyone. Well, we are back, and most of the women that I know going through perimenopause have always complained about, oh my God, I can't lose my weight, I feel bloated, and oh, should I cut down my carb and all that stuff, right? So much confusion. That's what we want to talk about, how macros can have an impact on our hormone regulation. To talk about that, we have just the right person here. Cassandra. Cassandra is a nutritional therapist as well as a performance nutritionist for the last 8 years. And she's joining me live right here. Thank you so much, Cassandra.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk about this topic. It's something that is near and dear to my heart, and I've really been able to work with hundreds and thousands of clients on this. So I'm excited to share what we've seen.
Yes, so we are always like, especially the women, I can't speak on behalf of men here. We are always trying to lower down our carb and the fat, and then I don't know, and we get so confused what to eat, and right. So educate us on the macros first. What should we do?
Yeah, great question. So when you're trying to regulate your hormones, there are probably three things you want to focus on. As it relates to macros. So the first one is you need to make sure you're eating enough food. So when we're regulating our hormones, what we don't want to do is put ourselves into a calorie deficit. We want to make sure we're eating enough food. Now, this may seem a little counterintuitive, but trust me, we want to avoid something called adaptive thermogenesis, which is your body down regulating its own metabolism. So again, number one is you want to avoid a calorie deficit. Number two, the ratio of macronutrients, and just to briefly touch on macronutrients are your proteins, your carbs, and your fats, and we can measure them in terms of grams, and you can give yourself daily targets to look to hit. And so when I talk about macronutrients, I'm talking about those three specific nutrients. And when you're looking at hormone regulation, you want to make sure that you're getting in enough fat. So a lot of the precursors for defected feedback loops inside your body can be not enough fat, along with a bunch of other things. But right now, just talking about macros. So when we're looking at macronutrient targets, you want to make sure you're having anywhere from 35 to 40% of your daily calories are coming from fat. This is going to really help your central nervous system and your hormone feedback loops to help regulate your hormones naturally. And again, this can go in conjunction with something like hormone therapy or specific nutrient help. But when we're talking about macronutrient support, you want to make sure you're having enough fat. And the third thing that I'll say in terms of macronutrients to help with your regulation is you don't need to shy away from carbohydrates. Your body is not down regulating on its own until you hit 65. And for most of us, we're going to be through perimenopause before we hit 65. So we don't have to worry about carbohydrates in terms of weight gain. We want to make sure that we're having wholesome carbohydrates. So when I talk about carbs, I talk about sweet potatoes, rice, fruit, whole natural sources of carbohydrates, but those are going to be the ones you really want to make sure you focus on. And you don't need to be afraid of them. They are not going to continue to cause the weight gain. It's the hormone dysregulation that's preventing you from losing the weight. So basically, in a nutshell, we really want to avoid a calorie deficit. We want to avoid that adaptive thermogenesis. Make sure you're getting in enough calories. That's important. And we want our calories also to be even. What we want to avoid is having a low amount of calories, say on Monday, and having a binge or a surplus of calories on a Saturday. Instead, we want to keep it even throughout each day of the week. So I guess that's like a bonus fourth thing in terms of macronutrients and regulation. But a lot of the times, the focus can be on a calorie deficit when you're trying to work towards alleviating a symptom of hormone dysregulation. And it's a little bit counterintuitive, but taking a slower approach and really focusing on getting in enough fat and educating yourself on the right amount of carbs and not under eating carbs will really help you start to regulate this. Now, again, I wouldn't say we want to do this solely. You want to do it in conjunction with other remedies, but this is a good way to keep your regulation in check, to keep your feedback loops in check, and to make sure you're not causing any sort of down regulation. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Very beautifully. I just had one comment. Now we know that women going through perimenopause, and nowadays it's happening earlier, like even in mid to late 30s. I've talked to so many women out there, it's very scary. But the estrogen and progesterone is doing its little thing, and everybody talks about uptick of protein intake. Do you want to comment a little bit on that?
Yeah, I think so. There's a lot of things when we talk about protein intake. Starting now, increasing your protein intake, along with increasing any sort of like subtle or appropriate weightlifting, is going to help your body retain muscle mass as you start to hit the perimenopause levels or stage, even if it is your mid 30s or late 30s where you're anticipating that to happen. So a good way of feeling confident in your body as you go through this time is to make sure you are having enough protein and you're accompanying that with some sort of weightlifting. Now, this doesn't mean you have to be in the gym for 6 hours, back squatting your body weight and going crazy. Meet yourself where you're at, either get a trainer or just start with some of the basic functional movements, but you really want to make sure you're getting in enough protein to support muscle growth, because the muscle growth will get more challenging as you enter that next phase. And so our goal now is to really make sure that we're giving you all the tools you can to keep your body feeling healthy and good for that next phase. In terms of like specific numbers, I think it's really important to have maybe between 80 and 90% of your body weight in grams of protein per day. And in body weight, I mean pounds of body weight. So if I weigh 135, I want to stick between 115 and 130 in terms of grams of body weight of protein per day. And what does that look like? If I were to take my hand and use my palm, I'm having about 5 servings of protein that are the size of my palm. And protein sources, you have animal sources like chicken, beef, fish, shellfish. I've been having a lot of that lately. And then you also have vegetarian sources. You could look at things like edamame, chickpeas, beans, to make sure you're getting in your protein sources.
So, okay, the protein sources are very important. That's quite a bit, especially for people who are vegetarian. You said 5 servings of a palm. For vegetarians, it's quite a bit to eat on a daily basis. Chicken and all, I can understand, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I will say, we've done a lot of research about this. If you are eating animal protein, you do have an advantage in the sense that it is a lot more compact and dense, and getting in the 5 servings is going to be easier. There's really no way to sugarcoat that. It kind of is what it is, but it doesn't mean that you can't get enough protein if you are a vegetarian. And the other thing to look at too is just make sure you're supplementing correctly with other sources of vitamins and minerals if you aren't going to go the animal route. So it is just being really cautious with how you're timing it too. So when you're having your protein, splitting it up throughout the day can be a really good tip. So it doesn't feel overwhelming to have, I don't know, a whole handful of beans or a whole handful of chickpeas or edamame. And there are some other tips out there too. So I use this edamame pasta, which gives me about 40 grams per serving. And that's huge. That's going to be maybe only 4 servings for the day. So there are some sneaky tips and tricks out there that I'm happy to work with people on further, but yeah, it's possible.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. This is a quick 10-minute session that we bring on a daily basis. Just simple tips, health tips, no medical advice, just a simple education awareness for women going through perimenopause, menopause, and beyond. Anything else you'd like to add before I wrap up? Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Do you want me to share my Instagram or anything if there are
yeah,
questions?
please. Absolutely. Yeah. Feel free to share your personal, your professional Instagram or any new website if you have. No problem. Absolutely.
Great.
Please.
So you can reach me at my Instagram. It's Cassandra Hobart. Cassandra spelled with a K, and Hobart is Hobart. And you can also reach me at my website, which is CassandraHobart.com.
And we will tag you, but in the comments on FB Live, feel free to add your links. But we are trying to tag everyone so that people know about all the experts who come to us and support us. Thank you.
Awesome. You're so welcome. Thank you. This is great.
Thank you. Bye-bye.